Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It is an incredible honor to be here with you today. You who are choosing to do work that really I know firsthand makes a difference. So I thank you for that work. How many of you are on time when you're in crisis? Can we all agree that poverty is crisis? And is it one thing hitting the families? It's multiple bullets of poverty hitting the families. Multiple. Something's going to happen. I've got an appointment with you, but something's going to happen. I'm going to run out of gas. Someone's going to tow my car. Someone's getting evicted. Someone's lights shut off. Something is going to happen. We are living in a war zone. And I have studied the history of poverty in the United States of America. The most common metaphor used is war. Because when humans don't have their basic needs met, what mode are they in? Survival, right? So it's easy to, when you're looking in at poverty, become very frustrated. Well, they didn't do this, they won't do that, they didn't do their part. There's a lot of that kind of conversation. But understanding the why behind that behavior, rather than attributing motive, really makes us much more effective at our pro bono work. So I want you to imagine you're me for just a minute. Imagine you're me, and imagine that you have my 5 brothers. Let me find them. There they are. And imagine that your only life experience with police officers, the only time you've ever had any kind of interaction with police, they are there to arrest somebody that you really love. And if they're not doing that, they are kicking you out of your home. Eviction notice. If this were your frame of reference, the context in which you grew up, and a police officer was approaching you, what do you think you would do? Raise your hand if you said run. Because I would expect you would know that 16 months in prison. It's a felony, right? Called eluding. And here's a fascinating fact for you. I trained the entire justice system in Trinidad and Tobago. Before I went there, I was doing research, and I found out other countries don't add additional time on when people run from the law. They fully expect that they're going to run. I read that, I thought, how human is that? So I started realizing there are all these different life experiences of poverty, and we only have one word to describe them all. One word, poverty, describes generational, working class, immigrant, situational. I even found mixed class. Because I have people say, I'll do your study for you. My mom was generations of poverty, but my dad was more middle class. Would that qualify? No. Because if you got a dad who's middle class, you're going to have different vocabulary, sentence structure. You're going to have different exposures and experiences than someone who has 2 parents who have generational poverty. So I began to realize, wow, we don't have a clear definition. Where do people get their information? Well, they base it on their life experience and project that onto other people. So you get a whole lot of this. I mean, think about the guy whose father died at 12. That's situational poverty. He's not thinking about what would having a father who's a physician for just 12 years even do for your vocabulary, your sentence structure. He's not saying ain't every other word. What would it do for your teeth, your health, your exposure to possibilities, your networks of support? So how's he going to treat somebody he comes into contact with who's from generations of poverty? Probably like this. Hey, I did it. Why can't... I mean, you got Ben Carson saying poverty is a mindset. I say you change your mind all day long. You ain't got gas, you ain't getting there. The deeper the poverty, the more likely they're word of mouth communicators. And we're going to get into that next. So, yes, getting that foundational understanding that there are many different lived experiences of poverty so that I'm not projecting onto you. Now, external capacities are things like, do I have gas? Am I going to have the money to pay the fees for whatever court fees or whatever else I'm supposed to do? Those are external capacities. And you'll hear internal capacities if you listen to people's narratives. In other words, help me understand. This is not rocket science. It's really easy. Help me understand. What happens next, and then what happens, and what do you want to happen? And really listening to people before we go in, well, I know everything, I will project onto you what you need to do. Let me listen first. And here's an example of this playing out. When I was 26, my marriage to Jerry ended, and my lights got shut off. So I went to a community action agency, and the lady there, she said, well, we have some vouchers. I think we can help you get your lights turned on. And she went in the back. She got me a voucher. And then she came out and she said, here, this will help you get your lights turned on. And by the way, there's a brand new pilot program starting up for single parents. And you might want to check out this program. How many of you think I was grateful? This is not me now. This is me in the war zone at 26. So I had my voucher to get my lights turned on, and she says, why don't you go check out the program? Here's what I said to her. Why don't you go do the program? Now, how does a helping professional respond when someone smarts off or says something like that? How do we typically respond? We take it personally, right? We think the attitude, the smart mouth, all about us. And usually it looks something like this. I was going to help you, but I'm not going to now. You take 3 buses right back home. How about that? It's called a negative conflict spiral because we take it personally. But I'm here to testify to you. It has zero. The attitude, the smart mouth has zero to do with you. Unless you're being mean, and then that's a different session. It has everything to do with that evil villain poverty. It has everything to do with a lifetime of watching people you love do without fundamental human needs, of being disrespected, of having the people you love disrespected. Have you ever listened to the tone of voice where people use to talk to people in poverty? You go to a school, high poverty school, you go to a welfare office, a health clinic, and just sit there and close your eyes. You're poverty informed, it'll curl your skin. So it has everything to do with that. And I was really lucky because this woman was centered and she knew she wasn't doing anything wrong. My attitude had nothing to do with her. And she came right back, same warm, welcoming tone of voice, welcoming facial expressions. Why don't you take the number? It might be helpful. I rolled my eyes at her, and she's like, got a little aggressive putting the number in my hand. I think I even called her idiot on my way out the door. And I drove home illegally, and I passed by Pizza Hut, and I thought, what am I going to do? I can get my lights turned on, but I have this 72-hour notice to move. I'm about to be on the streets. And she knew none of that. She knew none of what, because usually we're trying to put out one fire at a time. Like, okay, I got to get my lights turned on. Okay, next, now I got to have a place for my babies. They're going to take my babies away from us if we end up on the streets. So I'm sitting by Pizza Hut thinking I could go back to work there, but we still got evicted. The only thing Pizza Hut did was take me away from my kids, and they needed me. I couldn't work enough hours to pay the rent and the utilities. Can everybody say motivation at once? So many people say people in poverty aren't motivated. Au contraire, the brain researchers have found a motivation center in all human species. What I say is we don't use the right motivators. Using the right motivators means listening first. I have 2 brothers now that have bachelor's degrees, including Wayne, who spent most of his life in a cage. I have so many cousins who had no K-12 schooling, illiterate parents who are entering graduate school. The ripple effects of helping people who are in the crisis of poverty will ripple into their families. It will ripple into our communities. That younger guy there in the tuxedo jacket, that's him holding his high school diploma. And at that very event where he got that high school diploma, he told me that, oh, Mom, I forgot to tell you, I applied and got accepted to college in Hong Kong. Really? not Portland State. And that younger guy there, that's my one and only glam child, Sam. And I'm very proud to tell you, Sam has never been hungry. He's never been evicted. He's never watched his family fight because they don't have enough. He's actually having authentic opportunities to develop to his potential. And that is what I want for all people in our communities. And that such a huge piece of that is what you're doing here at this conference. The pro bono work that you're doing matters. It makes all the difference in the world, whether someone has actual equity in the justice system. So I leave you with a huge thank you for sharing your day with me, and I hope it was worth your while. Thank you so much.